You know what's so interesting? I get the question all the time. How do you stay spiritual while you're running your business? Or how do you integrate the two? Or how do you keep them separate? That comes up a lot. And I think it's a really important topic to bring up that there's really no difference. You are your business. You are your brand, no matter what it is, even if it's a different name that isn't you, essentially at the core of it, what your intention, your values, what you bring to the table, your beliefs, all of that represent your business. And today's guest, I think, is going to be the perfect guest to chat with about this conversation because she's in the business of branding yourself and doing it from a beautiful, elevated, high vibing spiritual place. So Samantha Zink is the founder and CEO of Zink Talent, and she also is the podcast host of As Told by Zink. She is really crushing it, starting her business in 2018 and growing like outrageously and creating amazing impact in the world. So we knew that you had to be on the show and sharing your elevated wisdom. So thanks for joining us today, Sam.
Yes, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk through everything and yeah, my journey, my spirituality, definitely nothing's off limits. So let's just jump right in.
I agree. So I would love to just hear a little bit about your story. Who is Sam?
Yeah, so I was your typical New York City recent graduate. I had graduated not knowing what to do. I had a PR degree, so I was like, okay, I'm going to work in New York City in fashion and PR, and I did all of that. And while I loved it, it just was a very toxic environment. The Devil Wears Prada. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie. It is 100% factual from beginning to end, especially the jealous boyfriend. I mean, it really is like the full experience. So just in fashion, whether that's like media or PR in New York City, there's a lot of like older, powerful women that really just want to break you down and make you work for that title and growing in the agency. And then you also have a bunch of like highly competitive colleagues who are out to get you. So while I really loved what I was doing, it just was toxic. I was overworked, underpaid. And so I started dabbling with influencers a little bit on the brand side, being in PR, and I saw them rising pretty rapidly and media dying down. And I would tell my agencies and my bosses at the time, hey, listen, we need to shift from media to influencers. No one listened to me. They're very traditional older people who do not like change, right? And then one New York Fashion Week, I had this epiphany, which is just crazy, on the subway. And I was just sort of sitting there exhausted from all of the work that I was doing. And I swear the universe planted this seed in my mind. It was like, I don't know if you guys here have like the voice inside of you, right? And it was like manage influencers. And that day I was just like done, set. I went to the office and I started creating what is now known as Zink Talent. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just knew that I had to listen to my intuition and follow whatever path this may be. And I blinked, and now it's a full agency. It's my life. I feel grateful and successful and fulfilled and passionate. And so I think like just listening to your intuition, if that voice is small or large inside of you, no matter what it is, just listen and it will take you to where you need to go. So I went from that like lacking confidence PR girl trying to climb that corporate ladder, toxic environments, to now owning my own business with my own employees and clients and just doing things the right way.
Like, holy smokes, congratulations. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
what a success story. And there's so much I want to unpack, but the first thing I want to know is, so you go to college and you get a PR degree and you say, this is what I'm going to do. I'm passionate about it. I know this is what I want to do. What's the feeling like when you go in and realize that it's not exactly what you want to do and that you're going to be swimming with sharks and maybe you need to pivot some? Like because a lot of us have big ambition and then we work really hard to get there. And sometimes we think that's the thing that we want to do, and it actually ends up being this next thing, but we had to have this really bad breaking point. I just want to talk about, like, what was your attitude at that point in your life? Was your soul just like screaming out, okay, this is not what I need. You definitely need to go a different, like, how did you really feel?
Yeah, so I think I didn't you don't know better. So if you're right out of college, you don't have experience. And so whatever is handed to you, you're like, this is how it's supposed to be. So my first salary, I think, was like $30,000 living in New York City. My rent was $1,200. I never negotiated that salary. I never fought back because I had no experience. So whatever was handed to me, I was grateful to have a job. And I was like, all right, fine, this is how it's supposed to be. But year after year, I realized that something was missing, and I loved what I was doing, but I felt like maybe the agency wasn't right for me. So I would hop to a different agency. So over the course of 5 to 6 years, I was at a different agency in New York City doing the same thing. Just agency, I would leave, agency, I would leave, because I'm like, I love what I'm doing, but this place is toxic, or I'm underpaid here, underappreciated here. And I was like trying to chase that dream. And then I got to like this fifth or sixth agency, and I'm like, okay, well, nothing is changing. I am getting more money, but I'm not happy. So in order to be happy, I think that the universe was like, it's time to start your own thing. But I really needed to go through the struggle. I'm not going to be dramatic and say I struggled, right? I mean, it was just a pain in the butt. But I needed to learn from all of those agencies, and I needed to experience that, and I needed to live paycheck to paycheck and all of the things before I was ready to start or embark on my own journey. But if you want to pivot and do something else, I always say choose your happiness and your peace over comfort. So many people say in things that they hate, whether that's relationships or work, that they know it's not checking all the boxes. They're not fulfilled. They're not happy, but they're comfortable. And maybe it's like a time thing that they feel like they're too old to make the switch. I always say choose your peace and your happiness over comfort and what looks good on paper, right? So that's my advice there.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. You mentioned not having the confidence when you got started. You just take what you can get, and then that transformed over time. What gave you the courage to say, I'm going to start my own business? I know you immediately started working on that. So it says a lot to who you innately are and your natural like go-getterness. But was there something that like helped your courage and confidence to say, I am going to do this. I'm ready to take a leap of faith and leave this job behind and go out on my own? Because I know that our community in the elevated life are those leaders that are getting those divine downloads and inspired intuitions, where they're going to need courage to say, I'm going to leave behind this traditional cultural way of doing things or climbing a corporate ladder, and I'm going to go into business of being of service and sharing my unique creative ideas. So what was that process like? What was the leap of faith process once you finally realized I want something different? Now I have to have the courage to pursue it and leave behind what was safe or comfortable.
Yeah, so I always like to tell people I didn't just wake up one day and start a business. Like I had years and years and years of experience under my belt. While, yes, I was 27 years old, I still was working that whole time at different agencies, picking up different skills and qualities that I was able to implement into my business. So I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to start something completely new. I knew what I was doing. And I think having all of those years of it, like learning from the best, I felt confident because I was at a place where I was senior level, and I was able to take that over into my own business. But I always had leadership qualities. I even got fired from an agency once because we had a holiday party, and there's obviously a lot of alcohol flowing at these holiday parties. And I just would always say, you know, PR is dead. It's dying. You need to like switch over from media to influencers. And my bosses would never listen. And I remember I had a little bit of liquid courage, and I told one of the higher, older men, he was probably late 50s, early 60s. And I was just like, PR is dead. You need to listen to me. We need to have a meeting. And so we ended up meeting after, and he let me dabble into like the influencer or create a division in the agency. Like I was always outspoken because I'm like, if I'm going to be a part of something, I don't want to just sit in the back. Like I want to really be a part of something. You hired me for a reason. Yes, I'm young. I was in my mid-20s, but I had a lot to offer because guess what? I know what's going on when, you know, maybe my boss who is in their 50s does not know what's going on with social media or influencers or just the PR fashion landscape. And so I felt like I was a fresh sort of like thought process for them, and I had fresh and new ideas. But then coincidentally, a few weeks later, during my annual review, I swear to God, I was like, I'm going to get a 10K raise. In my mind, I was so set on it. They kept pushing it back. Then they had it across the street at this hotel. And I walk up and I sit down and they like serve me papers. And they're like, Samantha, thank you so much for everything. But we no longer, have a need for your role. And I'm like, it's a PR agency. Like, you don't need a publicist. So I felt like being outspoken and having these leadership qualities about me wasn't always beneficial for me and my work until I was able to start everything my own. And then I just went in full confidence and being like, if I want to get out and have a happy life and I want to be fulfilled and I want to leave this like toxic office work environment, then I have to believe in myself and I have to take everything that I learned, but also continue educating myself. So I would really just listen to podcasts every day. I would read books. I would journal. I would manifest. What does it look like? What does it feel like? And everything sort of started coming together. But the biggest thing is it wasn't random. Like I did have experience. If you are going to start something and you don't have experience, take all the time you need to educate yourself on what's going on and be an expert in this space. Don't just jump right in and fake it till you make it. Fake it a little bit, but you need to know what you're doing for sure.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And what I was picking up from what you were saying is learning, skills, education, like just acquiring more knowledge so that you have enough under your tool belt to say, I'm ready and I have a vision I'm going to do it a different way. And I just keep hearing this phrase, like you are a new age thought leader and influencer. Like you really are breaking that mold of like old way of doing it and saying, I don't care that you've done it this way. This is how I see it moving forward. So I've got two questions. One is, what is your sun, moon, and rising sign? And two, how are you on top of the game? Like, why do you know how did you know that influencer trend? Like, what is it because you're passionate about being on social media, or like, where does that passion and drive come from?
So don't kill me. I do not know all of I'm very cool, but not into astrology, which is like the craziest thing. But I am a Taurus. And so I have like all my like leadership skills from that. And I do consider myself a young soul. I'm 33, but I love social media. I am on social media. All of my employees are Gen Z. So it's not too hard to not know what's going on. And plus, when you find something that you love, it doesn't matter what industry it is, like you're obsessed with it. So I found something that was all my own. I don't have children, but I envision like having children, you're obsessed with the baby. Like it's your own, you created it, all of the things. Like Zink Talent is my baby. So I'm still working like one of my agents. Like I do every aspect of the company because I love it. I enjoy it. I haven't taken a day off since I started it. I learned how to intertwine like my life and my job. And if you're doing what you love, it won't feel like a job. And that is how I really stayed like on top of everything. I just know what's going on. I stay ahead of the curve because I educate myself. I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm picking the brains of my Gen Z employees. Like I want to know what's going on. I don't want to be a traditional boss who loses touch, as they get older, because then it's like, I don't know what's going on in my agency. And I'm very type A where I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's going on in the industry. I need to be having meetings because social media and influencers, like it looks different every 3 months. It is rapidly evolving. And if you aren't ahead of the curve, then you're going to fall behind and other agencies will, essentially pass you.
She's dropping so much knowledge right now. I hope that everyone's really, really keying in here, because one of the big things is that a lot of times we think that we're going to our perfect place. Like we get this relationship or we get this job. And a lot of times what we're really doing is getting a skill set. Like sometimes we get into a relationship and they teach us how maybe to cook. Maybe they teach us how to love maybe they teach us how to love ourselves. Maybe they teach us what we don't want in life. And it's so easy to get caught up in, oh, well, they weren't the perfect person, so that was just a waste of time. And that's totally not true. Having the extra skill set is what allows you to leapfrog up success. The other big thing that she's nailing here is the level of passion that you have to succeed. You cannot think about getting into a relationship. You can't think about getting into a marriage. You can't think about having a kid and being half-assed, because all of the things that you do, the results that you get, the drive, how motivated you are to wake up and actually do something in the morning will be half-assed. And it feels it, and everybody knows it, even if they don't say it. You feel that way, you talk that way. When someone's excited about something and I am entering into a conversation with them, I don't even care what they're talking about because they're passionate. I'm lit up too. And I'm like, oh shit, I'm not even into purses, but damn, we've been talking for 2 hours about purses and stuff. It's ridiculous. It's just that level of passion matters. And so if you don't have that, it's time to wake up in the morning and think, what am I passionate about? Because that's what is going to really give you that extra moment of courage. Most of us don't have courage because we don't really have passion.
I think that's a powerful truth because that's the driving force. Like you're holding on to the passion and just trying to keep up with it. Like we had mentioned before, is like, I'm just flowing with the universe and like saying yes to what feels good. That's how we built the elevated life with our famous 7 or above rule. If it doesn't on a scale of 1 to 10 resonate as a 7 or above, like, hell yes, this is in alignment, feels good, I'm passionate about it, then we don't say yes to that. And that developed us building an intentional life around the things that brought us joy and the things that fulfilled us and that we were truly in love with. And I think that people forget that they have that power of choice. And it's so beautiful to see you just like wave your magic wand of just what the fuck I want and have the courage to go out and most importantly, open up to receive it. We can get to the point where we know what we want, but there's also that block that we have to deal with, the money mindset and all of that, or even asking for support. How you said, I lean on my younger team to show me where it's at. That's how I started building my online brand. Is my clients that were coming in to the hair salon to get their hair done that were way younger than me. I'm like, so what social media platform are you using right now? What's popular? Show me videos. And I would ask all the time. Then I finally had the courage to say, you know what? I'm not just a hairdresser. I'm here to empower women to help reclaim their lives and build their dream business. So it is so powerful to lean on people. So I love that you are sharing all of those qualities on it's, you didn't do it alone. So can you walk me through like what Zink Talent looks like today and how you support influencers to showcase? Is it showcasing their magic? Is it influencing for big brands? Because it seems like you might do a little bit of both. Or is it really just about bringing brand awareness through the person, or is it awareness of the person?
So it's a little bit of everything. We represent clients across the board, micro, macro, fashion, moms, actors. I don't like to just like have one box of creators. I like to work with a diverse set of creators just to keep things fun. And so basically what we do as influencer managers, and I feel like this is like, no one knows about this. Like you should see, like I sit down for family dinners and they're like, we don't know what Samantha does, but she'll share. And so I'm always happy to share. I feel like it's such a new industry, but essentially what we do is we manage influencers and we handle all of their partnerships. So we are pitching them to brands that make the most sense for them and like their interests, their audience interests. Everybody's a little bit different. When we pitch to that brand, if they're interested, we'll sort of negotiate the rate, the deliverables. Will it be a post, a reel? Do they want video content for ads? Do they want ad usage? Like there's so much that goes into it because every brand's goal is a little bit different. And we want to make sure that we're properly matching them with the influencer that can bring that to life. So if they want sales, I'll give them more like salesy influencers. If they want high quality content, I'll match them with influencers that have that high quality production type of content, not just grabbing their iPhone and like posting a TikTok, right? And so we negotiate everything. Then we bring the deal to the influencer. Hey, XYZ, I have a deal with Adidas. It is 1 reel and 1 round of stories on Instagram plus 30-day ad usage for $5,000. If they confirm, then we organize everything for the influencer. We get them the product, we get them the brief and the guidelines. Everyone thinks that influencers can just post whatever once they get the product. They are following very, very specific and tight guidelines to make sure that the brand is happy. So while it is like their own creative spin on it and like their own aesthetic and touch, they need to follow and make sure that they are doing everything that the brand wants them to do. So they do lose a bit of that creative touch, especially larger brands such as Adidas, or if they're a pharmaceutical. There's a lot of like rules that go into that. Then it goes live, we share the analytics, and then we invoice and we get paid. It's super easy stuff. And it's really fun because we get to work with some of our favorite brands. And just like, even like working with like Abercrombie. I grew up wearing Abercrombie. My first Abercrombie campaign, I was like feeling all the nostalgia, and Adidas just being a major brand, or like a beauty product that I wear now or used to. It's really cool working with brands that you love and you believe in, and then seeing the type of art that your clients create. So it's really awesome, like seeing like high quality videos, or just static images, because I think of it as an art. You know, when you work with an influencer and they have like the coolest type of content, travel content even, I still geek out over that. And I get excited over it, because to see the whole campaign come to life is the coolest thing. And to see the brand collaborating with the influencer, and then just me organizing everything. So that's a little bit of what we do. Everything's super streamlined. I don't like a bunch of BS work in my agency. I feel like when I was working in my 9 to 5 job, it was like I had meetings about meetings about meetings and agendas, and my agendas had to be reviewed. I was just like, there is only 10% of the workday for me to do work, because I was just in and out of a bunch of meetings that made no sense. So when you work for me, you have one job essentially, and that is to secure collaborations. I'm like, you come in, you secure collaborations, and then my employees will make a salary. I love incentive. I feel like humans thrive off of an incentive, right? So they have a salary, and then every single collaboration that they book for our clients, they get commission on. And then we have monthly bonuses as well. So you could be 23 years old in my company, or just out of college, and if you're good at your job, you can be making $80,000 to $100,000 right off the bat.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I think you're really cutting edge on how you're thinking and approaching business, and not putting yourself in a box or giving yourself rules. So what does your day-to-day like routine look like? How do you mentioned being able to balance, since you don't take a day off. I almost died, but I was like, okay, if she's got balance down, I'm a Libra, so I can get with that. So what does that balance look like, where you are taking care of yourself and tuning into your soul, but also creating this cutting edge, badass business and supporting influencers and the people working for you?
So I have learned how to intertwine my life with my work. I travel a lot. And so I'm able to do a lot of my work on my phone or my laptop. I don't have to be glued to my laptop all day, every day in order to be successful. I've learned how to work efficiently. So for example, I'm flying to Australia on Sunday. It's going to carry over to Monday. I'll be on a flight for 14 hours. I'll just work on the flight, easy breezy. And then when I land, I'll sort of like feel out the time difference. This one will be a little harder than normal. So I'm sure I'll be miserable the first like 7 days. But I'm able to work wherever I am in the world. I mean, why do you have to be stationed somewhere? Why do you have to be stationed in an office? So it's like, yes, I don't take a day off, but I can like work from the email of my iPhone easy. And obviously, if people are in my life in a romantic capacity, friendship or family, they have to have an understanding of my lifestyle. They can't be jealous of my work. They can't feel competitive. They can't have like a no phone rule, and I do know my boundaries of like, if I have a dinner, like, yes, I'll put my phone aside, but I am working a lot because social media doesn't sleep. Campaigns are always going live, right? So my partner has to be understanding of that and not do like a pity party, I like to call it. You have to find somebody who understands your lifestyle and complements it, not makes it harder. And luckily, I have been able to do that. My friends understand, family understand, but it has not held me back. I travel the world. I live my life. I've never felt burnt out. If I have to pop out of my house and do something, I do it. I balance my podcast as well. I work out and take care of myself. And so I find it easy. You just have to be efficient. You can't, if you're working hard, you're doing it wrong. Learn how to work efficiently wherever you are.
I mean, the knowledge bombs.
I know.
I mean, I don't even know if you know how much of this is liquid gold, because I married that person. I married a person who loves what she does, and we travel the world, and it's a nonstop. I won't call it a shit show, because that would be wrong, because it's planned and articulated.
It's a sparkle magic show.
There it is. So, but it's so true, and a lot of people don't realize that this is the way business is shifting. Like, because we've had the digital age now, because COVID happened and a lot of people realize that they don't have to go into a regular job a lot of times, so many, like, this is the way things are going.
People don't want to be so separated. That's why I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation is like, how do you integrate that spirituality or balance your self-care in your business? Like, it can't be separate anymore. It has to be integrated, where we're like in prison for like 8 hours a day. And then we like, what, finally get to come home and do some cool shit? Like, no, it needs to like happen as a seamless, like we do a little bit of here and then we go on a walk, like how Nancy on our walk this morning, she's like, oh, y'all have a podcast and a coaching call. That's why y'all are taking a walk this afternoon, because y'all have time. Like, yes, that's success to me, where I can take a walk at 11 o'clock in the afternoon and not have to be somewhere, be on a phone call, be tied to a desk. And I just love that you are fully embracing that and proving that it is possible, that you can be successful and that you can love what the fuck you do and not burn out.
Yeah. So I want a bunch of stuff here, but I really want to know, for the guy who is supporting a female that's in your position, who's on the rise, who wants to have a successful business, who has been told, hey, that's not going to work, and been like, let me show you real quick. How does a guy show up, or woman, whatever, how does a partner show up and support you? Like, what do you find, or what would be, if you had the ideal partner, and maybe you do, if you had that, how are they contributing to your life, and how can they sometimes sit in the back seat and close their mouth? You know, like how does that evolve into the relationship?
Yeah, I mean, I've learned as I have grown in my business that there's, you really do have to find that right partner. So for example, if you are a kind of going like off a little, but if you're a successful woman, and you're dating somebody who is less successful than you, it will start to like bubble up. If the man is not confident in himself, he will feel competitive with you, like he needs to take care of you if you're making more than him. It will just sort of ruin the relationship, maybe at first, but it bubbles up and it bubbles up and it explodes. So you really have to find a man who is confident in himself if you're making more money than him, but also driven, because a confident woman who is driven and ambitious does not want to date somebody who's just coasting. I don't want that white picket fence. I want to be a power couple. I want to do cool shit together. I don't care what you do, and you don't have to make as much money as me, but I want you to be ambitious, and I want you to wake up with a dream and drive and take care of yourself. If you can't match me on that energy, you don't have to match my paycheck, but if you can't match me on that energy, it's not going to work out. And then also, I will be on my phone a ton. And I have a team, and I have a podcast, and I have other projects I'm working on. So you have to just be understanding of that. If you're going to yell at me that I'm on my phone too much, this isn't going to work out. Like, you just have to be understanding of my lifestyle. And that I do like to travel. I like to get out there. I don't want to be like in my house cooped up all year. So I think like the best advice is to find somebody that matches you on your lifestyle, your drive, what you're going for. Some people are more simple and they want a simple partner. And then some people are more driven and they want to take over with their partner. But I think it's really important to be very clear on that in the beginning. Don't share that 6 months into the relationship. When I meet somebody and we have chemistry and synergy and we're vibing, I lay it all out there. I mean, my friends say this is why you don't age, because you never keep things cooped up in you. But I'm like, here's my boundaries. These are my expectations. This is what I'm looking for. Are you in or are you out? And that's it. I don't want to wait 6 months or a year for it to like bubble up or come out. I like to just be very clear on who I am and what I'm looking for. And so it's been successful, just like being who I am and being completely transparent from the beginning. But everybody, yeah, I mean, there's some business women that don't care. They want a guy who they can pay for. I don't know. Everyone has a different sort of like thing they're looking for. For me, I'm like, match me on my energy. I don't need to see how much you're making, but as long as you have that drive and ambition and you have dreams that are not the same as my dreams, like I'm into it. Let's do it.
Love it. Samantha's trading picket fences for private jets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a city girl through and through. So who knows? Maybe I'll settle down and get soft soon, but
well, time will tell. I'm curious though, because for some reason, when you were just sharing then, this energy came through that I had this curious glimpse of like, Who are Samantha's parents? Like, where did you learn this drive? Like, where did this come from? Like, were you just born this way or did your parents influence you? Because both my parents were entrepreneurs. They never worked 9 to 5. So for me, there was never an option of like, go to college and work a 9 to 5. That just did not resonate with me. So what was your childhood like growing up? Like, how did they influence you?
It's so crazy you say that because I had very traditional parents, I would say. Like, you need to go to college, you need to graduate and then work for somebody. Like, I was never taught that I could really do something myself or never pushed to do that. It was like, Samantha, what are you interested in? You need to go to college. And I was always, this is like a whole other story, but I did not excel in school, not because I'm not intelligent. I just was disinterested all of like high school and college. So when I finally graduated college after 5 years, my dad quite literally cried, thought I would never make it out. And I realize now listening to a lot of like entrepreneurs or billionaires who don't believe in college, that there was never something wrong with me. It was that I wasn't interested in what I was being taught. And so I wasn't really, I didn't want to study. I was more interested in like partying and hanging out with people. That part of college I loved. So yeah, I grew up very traditional, not pushing me to be an entrepreneur. I feel like I don't know what got me into this sort of, I think I had a little taste of it when I started my business and then I just went all in. I was like, uh, maybe being in New York City too, seeing like, I'm also driven by materialistic things and wealth. In New York City, I saw it all. I would like look around and just like crave people's lives. And the only way for me to get that lifestyle is for me to like make it. And so I felt like I didn't have any other choice but to make it myself. I never want to rely on another person. So it's just, if I want it, I have to get it. That's my mindset.
Yeah, I love the drive and the focus. I want to go back a little bit because since we're talking about influencers and everything, at what point does a person, what point should a person come to the idea of like, maybe I need a PR team, like maybe I need somebody who is, maybe I need to do something bigger than just what I'm currently doing, and I need someone to help me out with that. At what point should someone be looking at that, and like what would be the next steps for them to go into?
So I always tell influencers, if you're getting started, you need to work on your own business for at least a year or 2 years. Some people will just get a following and pass it off or want to get management. I think it's really smart to know your business through and through before you hand it over to someone else. So this means like pitching brands, organizing collaborations, looking at contracts, like pulling analytics, knowing like everything about social media collaborations and your platforms and what brands are looking for. Then once you get to a certain place, and I mean, you can have 50,000 followers or 100,000 followers, and you want to have management. The reason that you want management is because you've been doing everything yourself. You don't have the capacity, one, or two, you're like grown and you're at a point that you want to level up to 200,000 followers. Or maybe you're juggling like a 9 to 5. There's so many reasons, but you shouldn't just get management right off the bat and not know what's going on. I think like no matter what in your life, you should always know about your business before anything. And then you can start reaching out to different managements and just find what you want. Do you want a large agency, a boutique agency? Do you want them local to you? Do you want them in a major city? Take a look at their clients. There's a lot of things that influencers don't look into and they end up getting screwed over. Because they just are excited. They're like, oh, agency wants me, I'm signing. Here you go. 2 years of my life. But I think you need to do your research, like look into the clientele, maybe DM the clientele and say, hey, do you like working with XYZ? Ask them about sample collaborations, chat with the person that would be your agent, like do your work before just signing a contract, because I hear a lot of horror stories. I get the tea with my new business calls. I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're like, I just left this agency, and they're like, just like horrified. So I feel bad for people that don't do their research, but also kind of what you get if you're not going to look into the agency a bit more. But I think just know your business, organize deals yourself, get to a place where you're ready to like toss it to somebody to level you up, and just taking that admin busy work off of your plate.
Yeah, earlier you mentioned about how brands send scripts and they're very specific. I've been on the K-18 ambassador team for the last 2 years, and we recently did a campaign where they had me take out even just the phrase add more water, like, oh, okay, don't want that. So it is interesting how it is scripted and all of that, but I'm curious, what in general are brands looking for, like for the next 3 months, because we know it will change, but what are they currently looking for now? Like what would make that person like, oh, I would be a good fit to be an influencer, maybe I should sign up for this. If I've been in business, I've been doing the things, what are they looking for now?
So I would say this is a little different than your question, but I always like to share it because I see like my side of things. TikTok is huge right now. So if you want to grow quickly, go on TikTok, grow rapidly, just post consistently. It's low quality effort, very like organic, authentic stuff. Brands are like asking about who I have on TikTok, high engagement. They don't look at the following, they look at the numbers. They want to see consistent views and engagement. They don't care how many, like, I've seen people with 5 million followers on TikTok because they blew up in the very beginning, but they couldn't keep like the engagement going. So the numbers are reflective of their following, and it's funky and they don't get brand deals. You want to make sure those numbers are high for the views, because that's what brands are looking for. Sales are huge right now. So if you have an Amazon storefront or you're using TikTok shop, show those sales to like basically negotiate your pay. And then, sometimes we do have brands that are just looking for like high quality static images on Instagram. It really depends on the brand, but my biggest thing is engagement. Brands want to see high engagement. And then if it's something like hair care, vitamins, like just know that they're always going to want sales. Fashion, not so much. They want more of that like aesthetic image. And then if it's a product of sorts, they want to see that you can sell that for them. So they'll continue working with you.
When it comes to the numbers, you talk about consistency and the engagement. What are, like, if you were to open up, if I give you the back end of my Instagram, what's the first, like, what are the numbers that you're going to go look at? Like, what are those first little bits? Like, how do you approach it?
I mean, it's amazing. I can tell you from the front end of your accounts, because essentially brands, that's what they notice right away. But a big thing that I can't see that needs to be good are story views. So, I mean, again, I've seen people with 1 million followers on Instagram and their story views like the same as mine, and I have 15,000. That's a no-go. We want to make sure that if you have a high following, that your story views are reflecting and matching that. Link clicks are huge. So brands they're not just dishing out money like they used to. When I started this in 2017, I didn't even show brands anything. It was like free money, right? But now they're getting a little smarter and they want to make sure that you will sell or like be a successful partnership for them, because guess what? Everybody's an influencer these days. Everyone has a TikTok following. There's this new wave of like TikTok people that I just signed who didn't even want to be an influencer. They just started posting on TikTok and grew a following and they want to monetize. And they're like, what do I do here? So in a saturated space, in order to stand out, you want to make sure that you're selling, have high engagement, consistently posting, but also build relationships with the brands. Don't rely on your agency to do so. I cannot stress this enough. I can go to dinner with Fabletics or Alo Yoga all day, but you know what? I have 60 plus clients that I need to speak to. If you want to build your own relationship, it's up to you to like go out to lunch or cocktails or a Zoom with them and build your relationship and get your name out there. Because that you'll be like top of mind when they're organizing partnerships and collaborations and partnerships and trips. So I think it's really important to always go to events if you can. Some people are just over events, and I get it, but go with a purpose. Don't just go and have some cocktails and post stories. They'll never know. No, ask your management or do your own research. See who you need to shake hands with. See who you need to meet at the events. Because you just want to be top of mind when these brands are putting together their campaigns. And right now is an amazing time to do so because holiday is going to be booming, and you want to be like the first picture in their mind as they're organizing their budgets, right?
I love that. You are giving so many great tips for people to just network. And this is great, whether you want to be an influencer or not. It will help anyone in business, that getting in front of people, which is what this year, our big thing was like, we've done all the back end of the business. Now we just need to go out and like spread the love, spread the sparkle magic, and go to be in retreats and be in conferences and be in events and all the things. And that really has been a really fun part of this journey in our business.
And growth is insane.
It just, yeah, if you have the foundation ready in the business, the community and the connection is just like fuel on that fire. So I'm curious because your girl had 30,000 Instagram followers and she got hacked and deleted. So what's your advice to someone who's been an influencer, gets products, brand deals all the time, no problem, get people to donate products for goddess retreats and events and like, no question, because you can like flash that number around. I mean, aside from just fucking start over and keep going, like what do you have any advice for someone in that position? Have you ever experienced that with one of your influencers?
I have not, but my
Great.
I mean, that's what they say about social media being so risky. It's like you take a huge risk. And yes, that is very true. But my advice to you is screw Instagram. I would just hop on TikTok and post consistently, and you can just grow so quick on TikTok. Instagram, you can't really grow on anymore. It's very stagnant. Reels were having a moment where they were bringing a lot of new followers, but that's been stagnant as well. Everyone's stories are sort of flopping these days. So if you want to make a quick comeback, I would say screw Instagram and just go straight to TikTok. Find your niche. Don't be all over the place. Like obviously find your niche and post a few times a day to kick things off and start building that following again. But TikTok is the future. And also TikTok has it basically set up for you to grow quickly, which is what you need.
So what's your TikTok advice to us people in our almost 40s that are just, well, you're over, he old, it's okay. We're never going to get Chris on TikTok. So what is your advice? If you're someone who's been 12 years Instagram, like hard in the paint, and you're going to switch over to TikTok, obviously I've used it. I get it's the same vibe, but what you mentioned posting multiple times a day, that was always the advice, 100 years ago, is post 4 times a day on Instagram. So is that the same? Is it, 8-minute or 8-second reels? Like what's your like go-to, like these are just performing really well kind of thing?
So I would say it's less curated. It really is like you're grabbing your phone and FaceTiming somebody, your best friend. Whereas Instagram, like it's a bit more curated, polished, aesthetic. So the cool thing about TikTok is like minimal to no effort. You just have to hop on there, but you have to like know what the hook is. Right? Like what is your hook? How are you going to draw people in? How are you going to entice them? You have to use trending audios. Like there is a little bit of science behind it that like it's all over the internet. You can Google like tricks. There's also tons of like TikTok videos of how to blow up. But I would just say feeling confident and like once you post, like I always say just send it to the universe and like let go. I have a lot of clients who overthink their posts, and I feel like they all flop and do poorly because they lack confidence when they're posting. But I do have people who are like a bit younger and carefree and they just post and it blows up. And I really do think it's the energy connected with it. So I just post, put your phone away and just hope for the best. Some will do well, some will do shit. But as long as you have that niche, you have a message, you have value, and you're having fun with it, I think that you'll do really well and continuously bring in a new set of, I guess, followers, audience. TikTok is crazy. It took me a while to get on as well. I was like, I'm too old for TikTok. I did not want to see the dancing. Now I'm a little addicted. You get into like a black hole.
Well, that's honestly why I chose not to get on it, because I would watch my clients sit in the salon chair and just scroll for the whole appointment. I'm like, y'all are zombies. Like, what is happening? Even my old clients in their like 70s, I'm like, you're on TikTok and you're glued in. Like, so, but if that's the case, then that's probably good for our business if people are getting glued into the content on TikTok,
I really want to ask, when you're dealing with influencers, is there a certain amount that comes up of emotional baggage that you have to deal with, like dealing with their emotions, dealing with how they feel, like you mentioned, confidence or not being able to do something or perform in the right way? How do you not take on how they feel? Like being in a managerial or a leadership position, there's always going to be things on fire. I mean, there's always something going on. So how do you personally deal with that?
So I have seen a lot of people don't talk about this, but I do feel like there is a lot of mental illness within social media, because people are playing the comparison game, or maybe they're on top and they're not on top anymore. I do see this with clients who were maybe big on Instagram in 2015. They didn't hop on TikTok in time, and now they're losing a lot of deals because of that, and they're not able to gain a following on TikTok. Or maybe other influencers of the same sort of following and aesthetic and vibe are having their goal partnerships, but they're not. Maybe their story views are down. Like, there's so much that goes into it. And I see my clients just really bumming out about it, but while like also balancing their own life. And I did see like a big drop in revenue for those clients that weren't able to get on TikTok. And so if you don't have a partner that is helping you, supporting you, or like, you're able to like, you're living with them and you're okay. If it's just you and you have a drop in revenue, it's scary. Just like you losing your Instagram, it being hacked. It's like, then how do you make money if that's all you have? So there's a lot of risk that goes into it. There's a lot of like mental illness that goes into it. People just not feeling gorgeous, or not feeling like maybe they're getting burnout. I luckily don't really, I don't soak that energy in. I try to help as much as I can, but I would say that just owning a business in general does like affect your energy for sure. I don't think I've had a full night's sleep in 5 years. And also having employees that really, just having a lot that you need to take care of that could just explode at any moment, and people relying on you is just like high stress. And that definitely messes with my energy. But for me, all I can do is just know that what's meant to, I just trying my best, doing my best every day, staying positive, never letting negativity come into my energy or my life, and just be leading with empathy, leading with kindness, putting my employees first, putting my clients first. Like, it's all I can do. I'm only human. I'm one person. So when my energy starts to get invaded with negativity, I really do block it out and just try to be the best version of myself and help people if they are down. I help my employees all the time. They ride that wave of like, maybe they have a high bonus commission month, or maybe it's a slow period, and it affects them too. So I set them down. I'm like, listen, you're okay. You're not getting fired. It's a slow month. Breathe. Don't freak out. Like, I try to help them as much as I can. But yeah, this industry for being social media, it really is like high stress, and there's a lot of comparison and imposter syndrome.
Yeah, we definitely cover that here on the podcast, imposter syndrome and building your confidence, reclaiming your power, setting up those energy boundaries, because these are the things that help to create longevity in your life. If you're not dealing with those and using and implementing tools to protect yourself, to build yourself up, you will eventually find that burnout, girl. So I'm going to send you Chris's relaxation hypnosis audio meditation so that it'll just help you fall right asleep. It'll be great. And if you are listening on the podcast and you're like, I need to turn my brain off, you guys can definitely download it for free at, it's carmichael.com/relax. But you almost answered my last question. And that is, what is living an elevated life for you? You really started reeling on having compassion, empathy, blocking out that negativity. But when you hear that phrase, elevated life, what does that mean to you?
I love this question. And I talk about this a lot. And so in the beginning, an elevated life for me was being wealthy. Like, when I first started my business, I'm like, I'm going to, like, being in New York City and being around wealthy people. It's like, I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to be on private jets. I'm going to be traveling the world. And then once I started getting employees, everything shifted. And I truly found my like passion and fulfillment and my purpose in this world, which is crazy. I feel like I have 10 children and then 60 more. I have like 70 children. It's crazy. But they are my fulfillment, and they're my reason why now. So if I get money, I'm always giving it to my team. I mean, I'm flying them places twice a year so we can all come together. I could keep that money, but I want to make sure they're happy. So it's not about the money for me anymore. It's like, are my team happy? Are they doing good? Are they making enough money to survive and then some? Can they buy luxury items? And then my clients, are they just like killing it, making so much? Like, I think about them now and less about me. And I'm not like living the life that, I mean, I am, but like, I just had a different vision for myself in the beginning. And then I had my why change in the middle of it. And now my why is people, which is just crazy. So I'm very grateful for this learning. And it's been amazing. So my elevated experience is just making my employees and clients happy, giving them an amazing life, and just like having them have a passionate job and fulfilling job. I think that's the coolest thing, seeing them like show up to work and be like, I'm excited about this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, you're excited. Tell me more. And they want to just make me proud. And it's just the coolest thing. So right now, this is my why, my reason. And someday I'm sure it'll shift to children, and then I'll have even more children, maybe around 75. But it's been amazing.
You really have created such a beautiful business, and your consciousness behind it. That's why we love bringing on conscious CEOs, because they're doing it differently. They're thinking differently. They're coming from a place of soul-led, heart-based, like spiritual mission versus like ego Gucci purses. Like once you get them, you realize they only last for so long. And then you got to find like, what's that next thing? And when you find that fulfillment in people, supporting others, seeing their dreams come alive, that truly is the longevity of what I think is joy versus happiness. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. Where can our elevators find you if they want to go creep your TikTok and social media, which apparently I need to re-download the app because I'm falling behind on the social media game.
Yeah, so on Instagram, my agency is Zink Talent. It's really cool to see all of our partnerships and clients. I love our Instagram. And then my personal Instagram is Samantha Zinkovich, which is hard to spell, but I'm sure you'll link everything for them.
For sure.
But yeah, follow my agency for sure, because it's really cool seeing the types of partnerships I was speaking to earlier come to life, and all of our different diverse set of clientele. And you can see sort of what we do there. It's my business card, I like to say.
That. And it's so beautiful. I had the opportunity to scroll through, check it out, see all the partners that you've worked with, the brands. It's really, I mean, you are doing some epic stuff, and I can't wait to see where you are in 5. And I know a little behind the scenes secret that we can't share yet, but I know that based on that and the trajectory and your passion and your open heart is going to lead you to some beautiful places. And I'm so excited to continue watching and supporting your journey, Sam. It's been a pleasure to have you here on the Elevated Life podcast. And until then, we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Thank you, guys.